Hi, folks, and thanks for coming back to the On It Plumbing American Plumber YouTube channel. Today I wanted to go over our Alaska fishing trip, which was where a plumber and electrician that we subcontract with decided to put together a work trip where we could go, connect, network, and also do something really cool. So we flew up to Ketchikan, Alaska, and then from there, our plan was to go fly into this island remotely that's totally off-grid by float plane and go catch salmon that were running upriver. I thought that it was going to be a little late in the season, being September and all, but I was told by Patrick that September is a great month for coho salmon. So I don't know any better. We hopped on a plane from our local airport in Southern Oregon, MFR, and then straight up to Alaska. When we arrived, we had to take a ferry from the terminal across the bay, and then we basically just had gear on our backs for 3 or 4 days of fishing and surviving. And we hired a yellow cab, which was an experience in itself. The gal popped her tire as soon as she came in. She was a native Alaskan and just, I don't know, man, driving crazy. But she drove us to get fuel, and boy, that was an expensive trip. I mean, she took us maybe 5 or 6 miles, and it was $40. So we get down to the float plane where we're supposed to fly into Prince of Wales Island to a special cabin that we rented from the Forest Service, and they couldn't fly. Ultimately, not safe to fly. So we didn't want to pay for a cab, and we kind of wanted to look at Ketchikan. We figured, well, why not? Let's do some exploring throughout town and see what Ketchikan's all about. So we ended up covering 10 miles on foot that day. And I will say, with all the cruise ships coming in, they like double the population of Ketchikan. And we're talking, that place goes from like a normal cool little town in the morning to just a zoo during the day. And they charge a lot for the tourist. We went to the first brewery, which the locals were kind of like, I don't know about that. We went there and it was $8 for one little beer. So then eventually we ended up at the Sourdough, which is like the local pub there where we played darts, pool, and shuffleboard. And they had a game night going on, so they fed us at no extra charge, and it was a lot more affordable. And then because we hadn't budgeted staying a night in town, we hoofed it and stayed at the Super 8 Motel, which was not ideal, but we got her done. Next morning, we go down, find our way to the float plane dock. It didn't seem like they were going to let us go, and we were about ready to look for maybe our money back so we could come up with a different game plan. But right as we were about to say, hey, we want our money back, they flew us out, and it was pretty cool. We took about a 35, 40-minute flight, and they landed us on this cool little lake right in Prince of Wales, right up next to our cabin. So we hop out, and the whole vibe was changed. We were feeling a little bit down because we're like, man, we spent all this money and now our trip's going to just fall apart. Well, as soon as we hit the cabin, we were like, this is awesome. And there were some falls close by, which we hiked down to and fished below those. And the fishing was incredible. We're talking one after another, 3 different species of salmon and trout, maybe steelhead. We don't know. We let almost all the fish go, kept just enough salmon to eat, but I hooked into chrome coho, a big one. I caught chum, the dog salmon. Those were big, lots of those. Mostly, though, there were so many pink salmon, it was insane. It was clouds of fish. Now, coming from where I come from on the Rogue River, where it's literally like a run of 20, 30,000 salmon in the entire season. I mean, I was sitting and looking in a river smaller than the Rogue, at more than that, just in front of me. And it was hard not to snag the fish on accident, and then you'd try to get them off so that you could catch the biters. What we found worked best was we actually would float a jig under a bobber, and they would bite it, and it was pretty incredible. So all right guys, we found out how to catch them in the mouth every time on a bobber and a jig, and that was awesome. We could literally flip that thing up and they would get a bite. So we met up, definitely bonded on that trip. You know, we're off the grid, filtering our own water out of the lake, filleting our couple of salmon to cook over a fire and eat. There's an outhouse in the back, and the forest there, it's a tropical forest. It's just cold, so it's very grown with brush, and it's all smashed down, and there's salmon ripped apart all over the bank from where the bears have been eating the fish. And you know, Patrick, he had hiked all the way down to the bay and all the way up to this other lake up higher. I don't want to give away exact locations because fishermen and hunters get weird. You know, if they've got this, it's a pretty cool spot. You could probably figure it out with a little research, but I don't want to just give it away because I feel like I might run the risk of pissing somebody off if that's their sweet spot, their honey hole. I don't want to blow it up on the internet and give it away, but you can look up Forest Service cabins that you can rent, and there's lots of good ones. I will tell you that. Southeast Alaska, it's awesome. But yeah, we found that this one about half-mile section below the falls was just caked with fish, and it was a great spot. So we fished there for a couple days and just had an overall blast. So if you're a plumber and you want to get out, do something cool, I highly recommend getting some buddies and trying to make it happen. It's not the cheapest trip, but for about $1,000 to $1,500 a piece, which isn't as much as some of the highlights from our fishing trip here. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed this little content. I know it's a change, but when we're always posting about work and plumbing and jobs and how to get more jobs, there's got to be a payoff, right? You didn't do this to just plumb. You probably became a plumber for the freedom lifestyle, and I want to show you that that is possible by sticking to your guns and working hard, being smart with your money, so that someday you can kind of splurge a little bit and do something for you. And that's what this trip was for me. Hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, subscribe, comment below. I'm here for the plumbers, the tradesmen, and I would love to have you follow along. Thanks, guys.